Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? Babble on 5 podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine. How are you guys doing? This is episode 160. And you know we have to appropriately call this bad boy Real G's. As a great man once said, everybody knows real G's come from California, America, motherfucker. Flex on him, Nate. Shout out to the great Nathan Diaz, the great philosopher Nathan Diaz, on that great promo. If you guys are listening to this podcast, I don't know if it's your first time, but if you're a long time listener, then you know this is the Babble on 5 podcast, and we talk about mixed martial arts here. We talk about combat sports here. Mainly the UFC, for a reason. I talk about some Bellator mainly if it's like if there's fighters from Milwaukee like Sergio Pettis, Anthony Pettis fighting in other organizations. I will Rafion Stats. I don't know if he's from here actually, but I know he trained at Rufus Sports, so I've adopted him. I've adopted Tyron Woodley as a Milwaukeean. You know, everybody. Ben Askren, he's from Heartland. But if you're from Northbrook, you say you're from Chicago. So he's from Milwaukee. All right. Yeah, I adopted all these niggas. You know what I'm saying? And I basically only talk about UFC fights because, I don't know, I would say it's the most relevant as far as like where I am with the podcast right now. I do try to like watch pretty much bare knuckle boxing, everything that I can, man. I kind of like fell back on one championship and I'm kind of regretting that right now. I was like, I didn't even watch Dimitri. I was watching a video with that Rod Tang. I think his name's like Rod Tang at one championship. I was looking at this guy's like 25 years old and he's a fucking beast. He's a beast. And I'm like, once I was seeing that video, and I was like, he just fought Demetrius Johnson in this like special rules bout, whatever deal it was. But right then I was like, dude, I'm doing myself a disservice by not watching one. I don't really watch Bellator too often, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys can hear this static, but right now I can hear the static, but I also have OBS up. I usually record this video with my phone, with my iPhone here, but I like was able to get OBS up for a second here, so I was like, if I can do the video with my webcam instead, straight through OBS, I'll try to do that. But now I'm hearing some crazy like static. I sound like real robotic right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It like went away now, but just right then when I was talking, it was real robotic. But I realized I was doing myself a disservice by not watching more one championship. I know I don't agree. You know, it's like I don't agree with the different rules. It's just kind of hard for me when I see, honestly. It was like hard. It was like kind of a shock to me to see motherfuckers knee a downed opponent in the head. That seemed very barbaric to me. I wasn't there for the Pride days when they were soccer kicking niggas on the ground. I wasn't there for that. All right? I came in, I'm John Jones, like at the tail end of GSP, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey. You know what I'm saying? I've gone over this. I wasn't there for Pride. So to see niggas knee a nigga in the head, a nigga that's on the ground, that shit's brutal to me. As a fan of combat sports, I say that shit's not fair. But I see that I'm doing myself a disservice in not watching that, because when I saw a video of that guy alone, and I'm like, he just fought Demetrius Johnson? I'm like, fuck, I need to fucking watch these things. Like, I tried to, like, honestly ignore one, but I will try to. I don't know if I necessarily will have time here. Maybe if as we progress here with the Babble on 5 podcast, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring on people like Ben or anybody, dude. If I could bring Ash on here, that'd be cool. Geisha, dude, everybody. Bring the whole crew on here, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the people I'm getting to meet throughout, like, this MMA community via, like, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Like, however I've met everyone on this journey, it's pretty hype. But we gotta expand. I don't feel like just me babbling here should be much longer than an hour. Like, I'm not a fucking psychopath. I'm here to talk to you about the hits. Alright, we're talking about the hits here. We're talking about combat sports, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Andy Ruiz. I missed that fight, dude. I didn't know that fight was happening. I woke up in the morning and then saw the fucking notifications on my phone. And I was like, fuck, I miss Andy Ruiz fighting. I can't keep track of all this shit. Boxing is fighting this day at this time. Sometimes niggas be boxing Sunday night. Just out of nowhere, these niggas is boxing on Sunday night. I don't know. Is it my microphone that's doing that? I felt like I hit a chord or something. Maybe it's just... Or maybe it's this. Maybe it's my box. Maybe it's my fucking vagina. Maybe that's what's causing it. If you guys want to... we are going to... Before I get into that... Alright, before I get into the social medias and my socials... What we're going to talk about today, we're definitely going to talk about UFC 279. I'm going to react to the events leading up to the fight, to the fight night, man. Because this was one of the craziest fight weeks that I've seen as a fan. I wasn't there for Pride. I don't know what happened in Pride. I've heard the stories. I love hearing the stories. If you guys have some fights to suggest that I go back and watch in Pride, I'd love the suggestions. I wasn't there. As I'm saying, knees to the head right now are brutal to me. And I know niggas is like, I've seen people say, oh, bring back the soccer kicks from Pride. Nigga, no. Nigga, no. That shit's illegal for a reason in the UFC. If that was some fair shit, my nigga, oh my god, just the thought, I gotta turn away from it, you know what I'm saying? I'm not into it. But we are gonna talk. But if there are, I say regardless, send me some fights that I should probably watch. I've only really heard about Fedor. I haven't gone back to see it. I felt like at this point, people were like, oh, he's the greatest. But then I was seeing Fedor lose. The Fedor I saw was losing. So, I didn't have that same attachment. But if you guys send me some fights that I should see, I have seen those top 10 countdowns. Whatever that MMA channel, MMA on Point, I believe it is. They do those top 10 fucking fighters that never got a UFC title, and it always ends with number 1, Fedor Emelianenko. Every time. So just like, tell me your favorite Fedor fights. If that's what we're gonna do. Just give me all your favorite Fedor. Give me all your favorite Bob Sapp fights. Like, give me your Wanderlei fights. Because I came in here on the tail end of Wanderlei. But I always thought he looked like a badass. But all I saw him do was lose. You know? Not necessarily lose. I don't even know if I've necessarily even... I think I probably saw one fight with him. And then after that, he kind of was just like... I was like, what happened to Wanderlei? I just didn't see him anymore after that. As I'm saying, I became a hardcore fan. Maybe when I decided to dedicate myself to actually fucking watching fights would probably be if I've been doing this podcast for 3 years, then I would say probably 5 years ago is when I decided to be like, every card I'm watching, I'm unavailable. That's when the things started to happen. When I started to make that decision that I needed to see every fight. I can't just like watch the people that I know. If I'm gonna watch the UFC, I need to watch every fight, because it's definitely a benefit to me. Like when I've seen people, I'll follow certain podcasts, certain channels on YouTube, and they'll make predictions for fights. I saw these people, Fight Night Picks actually, and they picked whoever the fuck was fighting Sergey Spivak in his last fight. They picked that guy. I think they both picked that guy. And I'm sitting here like, are these guys fucking crazy? Sergey Spivak's a fucking monster. The only way you would say Spivak's not a monster is if, like, you didn't actually, like, watch those fights. Like, maybe you watched highlights. You know what I'm saying? But every fight I see, I'm like, yo, this dude's a beast. Even in the fight that he lost, I was like, yo, he didn't fight like himself. You know what I'm saying? He was off that night. And then, since then, he's gotten better and better and better. He looks like a monster. He just overwhelms you. His striking is good, and his fucking grappling is amazing. It's amazing. So, I just don't understand sometimes with these predictions. And it's like, what are you basing these predictions off? That's why I hate even talking about. That's why, like, I'm not gonna go off every fight, and because most of the time, if it's like a fighter I haven't heard of, the best I can do is watch your highlight video. Maybe if you have a couple fights from before the UFC at some random promotion on YouTube, if they have your fights up, then I can watch those fights. But that's the best I can do. Is then go to Tapology and then make an assumption I didn't see the fight, but it says it ended that way at this time. It doesn't tell me that you got caught in the first round a few times and knocked on your ass. It doesn't tell me that. It just tells me that the fight ended this way. So, yeah. Anywho, what are we talking about here? I figured I could go on that rant because that's the whole point of this fucking podcast, the Babble on 5 podcast. So let's go on as many rants as necessary. We're going to talk about UFC 279, of course, which was headlined by, not of course, but we're going to talk about what happened, because it was, as I talked last week, originally headlined Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev, but that is not how the cookie crumbled, ladies and gentlemen. That is not how the cookie fucking crumbled. And we're going to talk about next week's card, headlined by Corey Sandhagen. Good to see Sandhagen back. Love Sandhagen versus Song Yadong. We're going to talk about that fight there. And we're going to talk about the rest of the card. As I'm saying, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the fighters on this card, but not super familiar, but we're going to talk about it as much as I can, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You guys can, I the other day, recently, producers have been hitting me up on, Twitter and shit, and they're like, hey, bruh, I'm not even trying to do, it's just, this is what it says. It says, hey, bruh, I got these beats, and we're leasing them for, $100 or some shit like that. I don't know if it's real. It feels like a scam to me. And when I tell niggas, yo, I'm good right now, but I'll hit you up in the future, niggas don't even respond. I'm like, alright. Nigga, I made all the beats for the project I'm working on right now. It's all me, my nigga. And maybe There's a few Mike Regal joints that I wrote for a project that I was thinking about doing at first, but then I've switched my idea for what I was going to do with the project. Like, after I did the Grump, I started working on the project with I've got some more beats from Regal, and I started working on that project. And then I decided, like with COVID and everything, I already had the PreSonus, as I've explained here, I believe, and I just never took the time to learn how to use it, and then I was just like, I'm just going to learn to make beats, and then as I started making some shit that I liked, and then came Still Bitter. You know what I'm saying? Just my self-produced project. But I'm like, yo, those tracks that I was like listening to, I forgot that I had recorded some demos for some of those tracks. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot these were pretty good. I forgot these were pretty good. And I was like, they shouldn't just go to the wayside. They could be right there on this next project. You know, when that comes out, it's pretty fire. Love Mike Regal's production. I was like going back, I was like, fuck, I need some more Mike Regal beats. I mean, I'm sure price is going up, but I need some more heat from Mike Regal, regardless. If you guys would hit that like button anywhere that you listen to this podcast, I'd appreciate that so much. If you guys are on Twitch and you believe my fucking lies when I tell you that I'm going to fucking stream, I got 2K. I got 2K23. Did I stream? Nah, I didn't. Cause I don't, I got an Xbox, but I don't believe. I currently don't believe in next gen. I don't believe it's worth that kind of money for the same bullshit. But now they're talking about like, nah, this is a completely different game. You know what I'm saying? They're two different games. I don't know if the story mode on the Xbox S series or whatever is I don't know what the fuck it's called. If whatever the next gen system, if that shit is intricate, I'm pretty interested to know, because I fucking started my career, built my fucking player, and it was like, which school do you go to? And I picked Michigan State, and then it was like, which team should draft you? And I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? I haven't even played a game yet. And then all of a sudden it cuts to a screen of niggas saying, well, he's drafted by the Cavaliers. And I'm like, wait, hold on here. And then they were saying this bullshit, like I had just won a championship for Michigan State. And I'm like, what the fuck was the whole, like, why y'all even tell me did it really matter what random school? You didn't let me pick Wisconsin. You didn't let me pick fucking Wisconsin. I would have picked Wisconsin, my nigga, if you gave me the option. So I'm sitting here like, there was no point for me to pick that school. Because they didn't say Michigan State. They just said he won a championship last year. It didn't say which school. There's no reason. As far as I know right now, there was no reason for me to pick a school. Because on the last game, you pick the school and then you play in the tournament. And that helps you, like, do your fucking rating of how you get fucking drafted. If you're gonna be late, if you suck in the tournament, you can lead your team to a fucking national championship. You got all the game, you're fucking balling, getting team grade A pluses and shit. Then fucking you're like number one draft pick. They didn't even. What was the whole point? So I'm curious if I was like, damn, I wanted to stream, but I don't even want to play this fucking game right now. I don't even want to play this game right now. Because after I won a championship with the Cavaliers, I played with the Cavaliers last year. in 2K22. And I was like, let me play with these niggas right now as a small forward again, because they're pretty small forward deficient. And get that nigga Donovan Mitchell. Trade that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Get that nigga traded. And y'all probably saying, what are you talking about? I'm like, that nigga 6'1". You're traded. You're out of here, Buster. You're not a point guard. You're a 6'1" shooting guard. Get out of here. Trade that nigga. You're not playing on my team at 6'1". Fucking a 6'1" 2 guard. A 6'1" 2 guard, bro? Nah. Luka 6'8"? What are you, like 6'8"? You got fucking. What? How tall is LaMelo? Like 6'7"? Nah, I ain't got time for that, bro. I ain't got time for no 6'1" ass 2 guard. I don't care how that nigga scored. I don't care how Isaiah Thomas scored. That nigga ain't fucking playing on my team at 6'1", unless he switches position immediately. You taking that ball up the court, nigga, you gonna be the primary ball handler. You would have cut that scoring, you passing, nigga. You pass first ass, nigga. At 6'1", you need a couple Giannis's, couple fucking Mitchell Robinsons over there. You know what I'm saying? A couple of Bogdan. What's that? Marriott. What's that nigga name? I don't even remember. I forget that nigga name. But that tall ass, like 7'6" ass nigga. Y'all remember when he was a fucking Giants. Y'all know what nigga I'm talking about. He played for the Mavericks for a little bit. I don't think he got no tick. Ball ain't getting no tick. All the Giants ain't getting no tick. That's still a good life. They're a millionaire with no tick. I'll be a millionaire with no tick if you offer it to me. I'll be a millionaire with no tick. Sitting on the bench ass nigga. On niggas like, put him in the game, and I stand up and wave to the crowd like, yeah, they just ain't gonna put me in, man. I don't know why. Whole time I know this is the agreement. I'ma sit on the bench as a fucking face to bring fans in. I don't get the fan type. I'm gonna do all the fucking videos they play during timeout. Come on, fans, let's make some noise. I don't know why I did that accent there, but I'm gonna do like that. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is I was disappointed with the way 2K's My Player storyline started out before I could even, like, play a game. I'm already on the Cavaliers. I haven't played one game. It's just like, well, play the next game is where it's at. It's like the first game of the season. I haven't even got a chance to prove myself. I haven't even had a chance to play with the player at all. I don't even know if I like this character. I don't test that build, nigga. I got faith in myself, nigga. Which ain't faith, I guess. I believe in myself. Because faith ain't... I mean, unless I'm like... I don't believe that I myself am real. I believe that I myself am real. I know I myself am real. Unless I don't believe it. See, what I'm saying is faith is the belief in something you could never prove is real. So if I had faith in myself, then I would then be saying that I believe that I am not real. That I can never prove that I'm real. Which I don't have faith in myself. I have belief in myself. And if you guys believe in my lies, you can follow me at Twitch at twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys want to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOF-shop. And lastly, don't just be my Niji, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod and you can be my patrons, my niggas. I've been talking for 24 minutes with just nonsense, bruh. It's the Babble on 5 podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Are you here for the sports? Or are you here for the fucking? What's the damn jargon? Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know if it's jargon. Fuck, I forget the word I'm looking for. The exact term. But I don't know if you speak that dialect. I don't think that's what I'm trying to say here. Anywho, if you guys are here for MMA talk, if you're here to hear about Nate Diaz, ladies and gentlemen, well, you've come to the right place. The Babylon 5 podcast. I mean, I could stream some UFC fights. I don't be playing online like that. I don't really be playing online like that. I don't get how you do the fair fights type shit. You might be like, what are you talking about? I used to play the game back in the day where you play online and you could play online at a certain level where you just fight anybody, but then otherwise it matches you up with people at your skill level. People, they'll like just through the AI or whatever, how you're playing the game, it matches you up with people at your similar skill level, and as you win or lose, it you know what I'm saying? It blends it in, so it's a better experience. I played it like twice, but like the first time I was like, I want to play in the octagon in a real fucking fight. But then all of a sudden, when the game started, we was outside in a backyard, and it was no takedowns, which that was like my whole game plan with the character that I had picked. So I was like, I don't even understand how we even got here. Like, I picked a wrestler for that exact point, and so I was like very discouraged, ladies and gentlemen. I was very discouraged in my fucking novice understanding of this online game here. I'm just trying to play a regular ass UFC fight, man. Why am I learning to play UFC if we're going to get into a fight with no takedowns? It's not what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. That is not what we're here for. And speaking of not what we're here for, on Friday night before the pay-per-view, Dana White goes live on SportsCenter, on Instagram, and another place, and I think Twitter, and he announces that if you guys are following me on Instagram, you would have saw me post a video about the backstage brawl and everything that happened that I'm gonna tell you. But so I'm not gonna go over the brawl. Just head on over to Instagram. So it was announced on Friday that the new headline, the main event was no longer Khamzat Chimaev versus Nathan Diaz. Khamzat missed weight by about 8 pounds. And so they switched up the fights. The main event was Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson in a 5-round fight. Co-main, Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland in a 5-round fight. And in the fight before that, Li Jingliang, the star of the night, everyone, Li Jingliang versus Daniel Rodriguez, was how the shake-up went down. That is how the cookie crumbled. So in the fucking headliner, Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. If you guys are a long-time listener, first-time caller, then you would know that I am definitely not a fucking fan of Tony Ferguson. I've never got the hype. This man is right now actively chasing to beat Sam Alvey's record for consecutive losses in the UFC. What is keeping this man? Why are they still giving this man fights? I said last week, as I thought he was facing Li Jingliang, I was like, yo, I picked Li to win that fight by knockout. They usually have to wait 6 months before they even could book a fight after getting knocked out the way Tony was knocked out cold. Knocked out on his face. Fell flat on his face. Knocked out cold. And he even said he didn't remember, he didn't know what, like, he said, like, what, like, 20 minutes or some shit after he left the octagon is where he, like, came to. And it was just like, what the fuck? He didn't remember, like, the winner, Michael Chandler, and people, like, hugging him and all that, talking to him. He didn't remember any of that shit. There's a video of him, like, being weird. Like, walking toward a wall, and then when he came to the wall, just, like, kind of fist bumping the wall, and then coming back. Just walking around doing weird shit. And then he said the same shit like Kamaru Usman said. He didn't remember shit for like 20 minutes after that. And he looked pretty fucking old in this fight. He looked pretty bad. And his corner was screaming the whole fight, "Don't turn your back! Don't turn your back!" They were fucking freaking out. Because every time Nate would come forward with some punches, Tony would duck and turn his back and run. And they were freaking out. "Don't turn your back." And he just kept turning and running. I don't mean to laugh, man, but it's just like, I never understood the hype. Even Ray Longo, as I was saying, Ray Longo was like, yo, Tony was on ice skates in all those fights. Like, yeah, he was on a 12-fight win streak, but he was on skates in every one of those fights. And I was like, this is what I've been saying the whole time. Pettis was this close to finishing that nigga. He was on skates. Kevin Lee was this close to finishing that nigga. He was on skates. I don't feel like Cerrone was close to finishing that nigga at all. I feel like he beat Tony. Tony beat the shit out of Donald Cerrone. That was one nigga that did not that did not come close to beating Tony. I feel like he was looking for Donald was looking for a way out of there. He was looking for a way out, and he found it. Tony looked like a monster in that fight. I was all the way behind Donald coming to that fight. That was the one time where I was like, whoa, Tony might be a monster. That's why for the podcast before Tony fought Justin Gaethje, I went with Justin Gaethje because I felt like he was just on another level than Tony. Clearly on another level. I couldn't see why people couldn't see that. But then with everyone's hype and then the interviews of Tony leading up to it, his confidence, I was like, fuck, he's about to do it. This is about to be number 13 right here. He's about to win number 13 and be the interim champion and then go on to fight Khabib. I'm saying everything I see with him doesn't look like the way I saw Kevin Lee manhandle him with his wrestling. I was like, it doesn't look like he would be the person to beat Khabib. It doesn't look that way to me, but everybody's pretty hype on it. He seems pretty confident, so fucking confident coming into this fight. And then it was like weird circumstances with Justin where he accepted the fight. At first it was rescheduled and then he wasn't going to take it. And then he did, then he later on decided to take the fight again. And it was like weird shit coming into it. So I was like, all right, Tony's got this. And he proceeded to go on the start of this 5-fight losing streak. That was the start. All right. Me starting to have faith in Tony Ferguson's abilities and his fight IQ me having faith in Tony's fight IQ was the beginning of the end for Tony Ferguson. Can't prove that his fight IQ exists. As he jumps, this fight with Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson, it was weird. It's kind of sloppy. It's pretty sloppy. They're both pretty old. They're like 38. Tony looked really old. And as I said last week, maybe the fact that he's fighting 5 months after he was knocked out, when usually there's supposed to be like 6 months of nothing, of like maybe light training, and then you could possibly book a fight. Then they reevaluate. He's fighting 5 months later. I was like, man, what is he going to look like? He looked bad. Alright, his punches and all that shit looked real slow. He found some success with his leg kicks on Nate. Nate just historically like just takes leg kicks. So he was destroying Nate's legs, but Nate was all over him with the punches, and as soon as Nate would come at him with these punches, fucking Tony would duck, turn his back, and run, and his corner would freak the fuck out. Don't turn your back! Don't turn your back! Like, consistently. You guys go back and watch that Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz fight. All you hear throughout that fight is Tony's corner screaming, "Don't turn your back!" And when the fight's like in break, and they cut to Tony's corner, his corner man is like, "Yo, like, use combinations, keep coming forward, and don't turn your back. Please don't turn your back." They keep pleading with him to not turn his back, and then the round starts, and immediately, "Don't turn your back." He keeps turning his back and running. He was just constantly getting overwhelmed by Nate Diaz. I felt like Nate Diaz was bullying him that whole fight. So Tony was an OG, right? As they say, he's an OG. But, like, I felt like because of that, Nate didn't want to clown Tony, but I felt like Nate fucking bullied Tony in there and just really didn't have too much respect for his ability in that fight. So I forgot how goofy Nate was being in the Leon fight, just bending over, like pretending to be tired, walking away with all this bullshit. And he kept doing it in this fight, just walking away, talking to the commentators, pointing and like cracking jokes about Tony. Like, he was like in the fight clowning Tony. At one point in the fight, alright, Nate caught a nasty leg kick. And then he just was like, he started shaking his head. Nope. Like visibly saying nope and walking away from Tony. And Tony then like lays down and is like posing in the fucking middle of the octagon, and I'm like, are they about to fucking leave the octagon? Are they about to do some shit? Or what the fuck is going on here? I had no idea what was going on. And right now, and then the fight ended, all right? They continued fighting, but it was like, what the fuck happened in there? I don't think anybody asked. I watched post-fight interviews. Nobody asked Nate or Tony, what the fuck went on in like round 3? It was like either round 2 or 3. Tony lands a fucking leg kick on Nate, and Nate just walks away, shakes his head like nope, and like the ref is like, keep fighting, and Nate is like nope, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on here? And then they keep like, that just happened for like 20 seconds of just like nope. He's just shaking his head nope. And then Tony like is like laughing, and he like lays down, does a pose. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? And then they just keep fighting. It was the weirdest moment, dude. I thought they were both about to walk out of the octagon. I was so like I was freaking out. I was like, dude, this is like it's not a great fight, but like, finish the fight. I didn't want it to end that way. Thankfully it didn't, but I was just like, what's going on? So at the end of the fight, round 4, at 2 minutes and 9 seconds, 2:09, Nate Diaz submits Tony Ferguson with a guillotine. Tony shot for a takedown as his corner instructed him to. They said Nate's getting tired. Take him down this round. Tuck him down. He shot for the takedown, and Nate choked him out immediately. Nate has finished his contract, and he says he is going to go and teach the MMA fighters how to go and dominate another sport. He's basically alluding to he's going to go boxing. He's going to go and box. I saw somebody post like, yo, Nate's about to go dominate badminton, because he wasn't trying to say, he didn't say out loud boxing. He didn't say boxing. He was just like, nah, I'm just saying I'm gonna go dominate another sport. And it's like, nigga, what are you what are you gonna do, bare knuckle? Because I feel like that's another sport. But yeah, he could go bare knuckle Mike Perry. I'd watch that. Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz. Y'all, don't you guys want to see that? I want to see that fight. Bare knuckle. But I would like to see Nate Diaz versus Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition. Floyd is just doing exhibition these days. If he wants to fight Nate in a real boxing match, do it. But I feel like if he did, Nate's that guy that could do it. He's not going to get tired. He's not going to tire himself out. And he's going to be there in your face boxing. Like, I would love to see that boxing match. Nate Diaz versus Floyd Mayweather. At first, I thought maybe Nate was too big, but you got Floyd doing boxing exhibitions with Logan Paul. Why not let my boy Nate get in there? Tony, though, that's 5 straight losses for Tony, man. He's competing with Sam Alvey for the most consecutive losses in the UFC. I believe it's half past time for Tony to hang him up, ladies and gentlemen. Hang him up. I don't want to see him fighting in Bellator, PFL. I think it's time to hang him up, ladies and gentlemen. Stop it. He mentioned in his pre-fight shit, he mentioned Forrest Griffin, how Forrest Griffin now like works for the UFC, like in the office and shit. Like he's like fighter relations or some shit like that. And I would like for Tony to do that right now, man. Retire. Because if he fought his original fight versus Lee, the way Lee looked in that fight, Lee would have easily knocked this man out. Lee would have been all over him. His boxing was real sloppy. He was all over the place, man. It looked pretty bad. I think it's half past retirement time. Half past time for retirement for Tony Ferguson. I don't want to see him fight anybody next. I was thinking beforehand, like, oh, maybe the winner of this fight is going to fight potentially Conor McGregor. I don't want to see Tony fight anyone next. I think he should retire. I think it would be cruel to book Tony in another fight in the UFC. And you're like, oh no, well, maybe in a promotion. I want to say in a promotion with lower level talent, but what the fuck does that mean? I don't want to say, because there's not necessarily lower level talent anywhere. It's just people who fight other places. It's not like the UFC unanimously have the creme de la creme, and everybody else in Bellator is just like not on that level. If that's the case, then Michael Chandler would have never got a win. And nobody that's ever fought in Bellator or any other promotion would ever get a win in the UFC if the UFC just fucking unanimously had all the best fighters. Like, that's just not the case. So, I don't want to see Tony fight anywhere after what I just saw. I think Tony should retire, ladies and gentlemen. I think Tony should retire. In the co-main event, in the new main event scheduled for 5 rounds, you had Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. As I said, if you guys head to Instagram, Kevin Holland and Khamzat Chimaev got into a little scuffle in the pre-fight press conference in the backstage area, which really was the start of this whole switch up. Nigga, watching this fight, right? Because we all know that Holland doesn't have the best wrestling, but he has really good striking. He's an inch taller than Khamzat, has, I think, like a 6-inch reach advantage. So I was like, ooh, there is some concern there that he could potentially catch Khamzat in the striking. Nigga, I was R.L. Stein for this fight. Just straight goosebumps, alright? Nigga, just not even really breathing towards it. Nigga, it was crazy. So they touched gloves to start the fight. When the ref said, if you guys want to touch gloves, they touch gloves, right? And then the fight starts, and Kevin Holland comes forward with his hand out, because sometimes fighters then touch gloves again, like right before they start. Khamzat comes up and does he puts his hand up as if he's gonna touch the glove and immediately shoots. I felt like it was kind of dirty. But he did it. He tucked Holland down right away after that fake glove touch and just was all over this man with the wrestling. Holland was just trying to roll out of there, doing what he could, but eventually got caught in a darce, which was put into a Japanese necktie, which then put into a darce, then another Japanese necktie, I believe, then back to the darce when he hooked the body. Got a good angle on it, and then submitted Kevin Holland as he should in the very first round. Did not take one punch in this fight and took no damage. Khamzat Chimaev, pretty much no one took any damage. It was just a grappling match. Even it was funny when Kevin Holland reacted to it. He was like, "I just lost my grappling match. I mean, my fight against Khamzat Chimaev, because there was no strikes thrown." It was legit a grappling match. So it was a catch weight. As I said, Khamzat missed weight by about 8 pounds, 7.5 pounds to be exact. He missed weight, and he's talking like, "Yo, I don't care about that shit." Like, blah, blah, blah. People are like, well, Joe Rogan's like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, people think you're going to be a champion. What do you say to these people that think you're going to be a champion? They're saying, how are you going to, fight for the belt if you can't make weight?" And he said, well, the UFC doctors told me to stop cutting weight. I felt like I could still make weight, but they told me to stop. So, and even, Dana kind of, supported that claim. So if that is what it is, then it is what it is. It's all the other fighters, all the other UFC fighters that were commenting on it are saying, if the doctor told him to stop cutting weight, they wouldn't have let him fight. So, it doesn't make sense. So, I don't know what's real. I don't know what's real, but it was a quick fight. Khamzat then said because this was the co-main, he said he wanted to fight Nate and Tony at the same time. Shit, 2-on-1. He's like, bring them out right now, fight them both 2-on-1. I think he could have won that fight too, man. Shit, the way Khamzat looked right there, I think he would have won that fight. 2-on-1. He's a fucking monster. I don't think this loss hurts Holland too much, because I don't think anybody expected too much. The best he could have did was maybe caught Khamzat with one or something like that, and then he would have gained some more respect from everybody. But everybody knew he had no wrestling, and Khamzat was a fucking phenomenal wrestler, and he was doing great like defense as much as he could. So I don't feel like Kevin Stallin's stock is hurt too bad at all here. Not in my opinion. I think Kevin Holland is still gonna look great against people like Wonderboy, people like Daniel Rodriguez. I think, he's gonna look. So I don't think his stock is hurt too bad in my personal opinion. Buckley says that he is officially moving to welterweight and that he wants to fight Khamzat Chimaev. I think that's insane because I think the people are too big for him at 185, and as we can see here, it was reported on before, but we see it clearly here. Khamzat struggles to make 170, and he should fight at 185, but he chooses to be fucking gigantic over everybody at 170. But it is what it is. Like, Buckley's calling him out. I don't think it would go his way. He's like, nigga, I wrestle too. Nigga, I wrestle too. And it's like, okay, you don't wrestle like them niggas. Them fucking Dagestani Chechenian ass niggas. You don't wrestle like them niggas. That chain wrestling, that great ass shit. He's gonna fucking just dominate you in one round. I don't feel like that's a fair fight at all. I don't feel like it's a fair fight at all. You just lost to Imavov. How are you calling out Khamzat? You just lost to Imavov. What are we talking about here? In the fight right before that, we gotta talk about my man Li Jingliang, who had the freshest suit. All right, everybody feels bad for Li Jingliang, except for the judges, and they don't need to feel bad for Li Jingliang. But Li won this fight. All right, I scored all 3 rounds for Li. I think there could be some argument to give Rodriguez the second round, but Li, without a doubt, won rounds 1 and 3, without a doubt. The second round was close. Like, that was a toss-up, but there's no way you give those rounds 1 or 3 to Daniel Rodriguez. Even Dana White said he was shocked when they said it was a split decision, let alone for Daniel Rodriguez. I left the room. My wife had just came home. I was like, and then like the fight ended and all the coaches were hugging. That's the last thing I remember. All the coaches were hugging. Like Li had brought the dude in and they tried to like stop Li from letting the nigga come in. And he was like, nah, he's coming in. And then they all walked over and greeted the other coaches. I was like, Li's a dope dude. He got the fresh suit. Didn't get to show it off the press conference, but he just won that fight. And I went to go talk to my wife. I like left the room and I come back and it was like the end of, I'm like, Joe was like interviewing Daniel Rodriguez, and I was like, oh, it must be like interviewing both of the opponents because of the situation of the mix-up. But then Joe was like, congratulations on your win, and I was like, what are you talking about? There was no way Daniel Rodriguez won that fight. He did not win that fight. I didn't believe he won that fight. I didn't believe he was going to win that fight. When I saw them face off and I saw how much bigger Li was than him, and then Li was just a much more skilled fighter, and he was all over this man. He was having fun in there, man. Li was having a lot of fun in there. There's absolutely no way. I don't see how anybody scored that fight for D-Rod. Like, when the interviewer asked Dana White about the fight, he was like, what do you think about some people who are saying that Li was robbed? And he was like, you're right. Everyone else is right. The judges are wrong. He was robbed. Like, and it's just what it is, man. So, man, you guys need to go follow Li on Twitter. I saw that he only had like 1,600. Like 16. It was like 1655 when I followed him. So go follow Li Jingliang right now, man. Get this man some followers. He didn't get to show off his phenomenal suit. He really wanted to show everybody. He showed how dope he was and embedded. He fought Daniel Rodriguez, who weighed in about 10 pounds heavier than him. Won that fight, according to everybody that watched it except the judges. Except 2 of those judges. Fucking crazy. First fight to go to decision, and it was a fucking wonky decision. Wonky decision. But we don't need to see it. Only fight to go to decision, actually. But Lee will bounce back because even Dana sees that he actually won that fight. And he's favorable to people like that, like you see your Chito Veras and yada, yada, yada. So I think Lee will be in a good spot after this. D-Rod, I'm not so sure what's next for D-Rod. Maybe it was the time off is why he looked so bad in there, but I didn't think he looked the best. He didn't look like D-Rod of old. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we got Corey Sandhagen versus Song Yadong. I just think that Corey Sandhagen, I picked him to beat Petr Yan. And then we saw in that fight, shit, Yan is just a couple notches above Corey Sandhagen. Like a couple notches. And we see that fucking Jermaine Sterling is like a couple notches above